The 2025 Indonesian horror film Possession is here, and it will still leave you trembling with fear. With a mind-blowing plot and chilling scenes, this is the must-watch film to start the year. The story begins with Ferris, who has just retired from the Navy, finally reuniting with his beloved wife, Ratna. Although they've been married for years and have a child around 7 or 8 years old, Ratna still exudes charm, grace, and sensuality. But no one could have predicted that this stunning woman, Ratna, would fall victim to possession by an evil spirit. That night, Ferris intended to be intimate with Ratna to ease the longing he had felt for months. However, Ratna only wanted to hug her white pillow to sleep and used the excuse of having her period to refuse him. Ferris, frustrated, heads to the bathroom, where he unexpectedly notices that there are still sanitary pads in the house, and the trash can is spotless. Realizing that Ratna has been lying to him, Ferris immediately confronts her, questioning why she refuses to fulfill her duties as a wife. He can't understand why Ratna is rejecting him and begins to suspect that she might be having an affair. In response to Ferris's accusations, Ratna remains silent, which, to him, feels like an admission of guilt. Angry, Ferris vows to find the man and make him pay. But what Ferris doesn't know is that the man he's hunting isn't a lover, it's a demon. The next morning, Ferris is shocked to discover that Ratna has mysteriously disappeared. Just then, there's a knock at the door. When he opens it, he finds Mita, Ratna's best friend. Mita told Ferris that Ratna had been coming home late recently because she was busy writing a script, so she had asked Mita to help with picking up and dropping off the child at school. What surprises Ferris even more is that Mita has no idea where Ratna is either, except that Ratna was at a hotel. The only other person who knows which hotel is the director Wahyu. Suspecting the worst about the entertainment industry's usual chaos, Ferris is almost certain that Wahyu is the man he's been looking for. After Mita and Booty leave, the neighbor Tony shows up uninvited, telling Ferris that Ratna is likely being targeted by an evil spirit. According to Tony, the Bada zombie is a type of malevolent spirit that resembles a mummy, and anyone who becomes its target is bound to meet a tragic end. However, Ferris is a staunch atheist and doesn't believe in such things. What he doesn't know is that when Tony leaves, the white pillow on the bed reveals a terrifying ghostly face. After Tony's departure, Ferris finds Wahyu's contact information in the house. When he finally reaches him by phone, Wahyu warns him not to disturb Ratna. This cryptic response only feels like a challenge to Ferris. Determined to find proof of his wife's infidelity, Ferris searches the house thoroughly and eventually discovers a stack of photos and a hotel brochure in Ratna's suitcase. In the photos, the man with Ratna is none other than Wahyu, the same man he just spoke to on the phone. Yet, these alone aren't enough to confirm an affair. Ferris decides to hire private investigator Sandy to secretly look into the relationship between Ratna and Wahyu. Not long after Ferris returned home, Mita arrived with Booty. Ferris, thinking Mita and Ratna are close friends, believes she might know why Ratna has changed. However, Mita didn't answer his question. Instead, she told him that he was the most outstanding man she had ever met. Then, she helped Ferris take off his coat and kissed him passionately. Just as they were about to lose control, Booty suddenly entered the living room, causing them to immediately stop. Ferris breathed a sigh of relief when he learned that Booty only wanted him to help with his bath. However, while Booty was in the bathroom, he suddenly looked up at the ceiling in fear. To Booty's terrified eyes, strange red stains appear on the ceiling, but Ferris can't see anything. At that moment, Ratna, who had been missing all day, returned. Ferris saw his wife return and, instead of questioning what Booty had seen, he rushed to confront Ratna, accusing her of secretly meeting Wahyu. Clearly upset by her husband's interrogation, Ratna and Ferris have a heated argument. As Ratna's fury intensified, the red stains on the ceiling reappeared, and the room's lights began flickering on and off. Ratna began to convulse violently, as if possessed by a spirit. When the lights finally go out completely, Ferris hears Ratna's voice calling him, but he can't find her anywhere. It wasn't until the lights came back on that he saw Ratna lying on the floor. Her call now turned into agonizing screams. She then fell unconscious. Panicked, Ferris quickly carried her to the bed to rest. The strange occurrences continued to unnerve Ferris. However, when he looked into the mirror, he saw that the pillow Ratna had been holding in her sleep seemed to come to life. He quickly turns to check, only to find that it's still an ordinary pillow. He could only assume he had misseen it, so he turned off the lights and went to sleep. But shortly after, Ratna began rubbing the pillow against herself, making various seductive sounds. Seeing this, Ferris quickly turned the light back on and threw the pillow to the floor. Ratna finally quieted down. Just then, the phone rang. When Ferris got out of bed to answer the call, the pillow under the bed suddenly transformed into a demonic shape. Unaware of this, Ferris learned from the phone call that Wahyu had just entered the hotel, which seemed to confirm that Ratna had been meeting him every night. Furious, Ferris intended to confront Ratna, but when he turned to check on her, he found that Ratna, who had been unconscious just moments ago, had disappeared. He searched the house thoroughly but could not find her anywhere. He's certain she's gone to meet Wahyu at the hotel again, so he rushes there and obtains a room key from the private investigator, Sandy. When Ferris arrived at the hotel room, he only found Wahyu sitting on the sofa reading a script. Without hesitation, Ferris pulled out a gun and pointed it at Wahyu, demanding to know where Ratna was. To Ferris's surprise, Wahyu didn't flinch at the gun and calmly replied that the script in his hands was actually Ratna. In a fit of rage, Ferris grabbed the script and threw it on the ground, then proceeded to beat Wahyu before leaving the hotel. However, when Ferris returned home, he found Ratna lying in the bathtub holding the pillow, her lower body covered in blood. In a panic, he hurriedly carried her back to the bed. Seeing his wife in such a state, Ferris no longer cared to ask her about the affair. Instead, he asked Booty if he knew when his mother had returned home. To Ferris's shock, Booty replied that Ratna had never left the house. This left Ferris confused and unsettled. He couldn't make sense of it. If Ratna had been home the whole time, then why couldn't he find her just moments ago? As Ferris sank into confusion, Ratna, still unconscious, suddenly awoke. She donned a red dress and grabbed an umbrella before leaving the house. She then took a taxi to the mysterious hotel. The driver, noticing how strikingly beautiful Ratna was in her outfit, assumed she was a prostitute and couldn't help but be overcome by desire. As they neared the hotel, the driver, unable to control himself, reached out to touch Ratna's thigh. Just as the driver feels satisfied, he suddenly notices a malevolent spirit lurking next to Ratna. Terrified, he tries to escape, but the car doors won't open. Under the demon's control, he begins repeatedly banging his head against the glass until he dies. Ratna, barefoot, stepped out of the car and danced gracefully in the pouring rain before bouncing her way into the hotel. Sandy, who had been lurking outside the hotel, saw Ratna and immediately followed her inside with his camera. What he didn't know was that Ratna had already sensed his presence and deliberately made seductive sounds to lure him into the hotel room. Gazing at the beautiful woman, Sandy was overwhelmed by desire and lost his professional ethics. He discarded his jacket and prepared to do something unthinkable, but then a strange noise suddenly came from the bathroom. So Sandy reluctantly stopped and went into the bathroom, ready to take a picture of the adulterer with her camera. But as he lifted the shower curtain, he was so terrified that he stumbled backward. Before he could react, Ratna used a fruit knife to slit his throat, then pinned him to the bed and stabbed him repeatedly. Meanwhile, Ferris, who was sleeping at home, felt a few drops of blood land on his face. When he opened his eyes, he finally saw the bloodstains that had once appeared on the ceiling. Having never encountered such a bizarre phenomenon, Ferris decided to seek Tony's help. Tony immediately realized that this was a sign of a demonic invasion, so he shared the exorcism method with Ferris. He told him to wait for Ratna's return so they could begin the ritual. While preparing for the exorcism, Ferris stumbled upon a VHS tape among Ratna's belongings. When he played it, he saw scenes of Ratna rehearsing for a play, but it revealed the truth behind everything. In the video, Mita confessed to Ratna that she had long been infatuated with Ferris and dreamed of spending a night with him. She promised that if Ratna allowed her wish, she would give her an experience unlike any other. Ratna immediately rejected Mita's proposal, as she didn't want to be with anyone other than her husband.
Bukan manusia, gairah ini yang akan mengubahmu sepenuhnya.
Although Ratna turned her down, it was clear that Mita hadn't given up. She was the one who had summoned the evil spirit to torment Ratna. Realizing he had wrongly accused his wife, Ferris decided to go to the hotel and apologize to Ratna. However, Wahyu was already there, deeply engrossed in reading Ratna's new script. Wahyu was so absorbed in the script that he couldn't tear himself